just feel like something going wrong. And I hear you telling people your granny me's a rebel. But you saying, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, this was a snake in the sugar pan. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, you should know these things sweet for soul. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, long ago, granny, you. Well, they keep calling down she phone. So long as granny calling, the girl not answering. But finally she come home. Granny say you're not answering your phone. And granny start caroling, the girl started singing. Then she saying, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, this was a snake in the sugar pan. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, you should know these things sweet for soul. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, long ago, granny, you were so. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. She says she going a line. She going to have a good time. You see when you're out there, granny don't be worried. And you know your granny, my one and only do-do. Say don't worry with granny, granny like to quarrel. Then she saying, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, this was a snake in the sugar. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, you should know these things sweet for soul. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, long ago, granny, you were so. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. You're dressing to go a line. Well, don't do like the next time. And when your granny call you, you know what you have to do. And when you're not answering your phone, I just feel like something going wrong. And I hear you telling people your granny me's a rebel. But you saying, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, this was a snake in the sugar pan. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, you should know
People have turned around to
these
go,
things
where
for
has
soul.
the
Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, long ago, granny, you were so. Granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, this was a snake in the sugar pan. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, you should know these things sweet for soul. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, long ago, granny, you were so. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. She says she going a line. She going to have a good time. You see when you're out there, granny don't be worried. And you know your granny love you. My one and only do. Say don't worry with granny, granny like to quarrel. Then she saying, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, this was a snake in the sugar pan. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, you should know these things sweet for soul. Granny, why, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, long ago, granny, you were so. Granny, have to do. And when you're not answering your phone, I just feel like something gone wrong. And I hear you telling people your granny me's a rebel. But you saying, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, this is a snake in sugar pan. Granny, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, you should know these things sweet for soul. Granny, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, long ago, granny, you were so. Granny, Choker, Charlie. The girl was on she first date. Cause he said don't stay out too late. And when she didn't come home, granny keep calling down she phone. So long as granny calling, the girl not answering. But finally she come home. Granny say you're not answering your phone. And granny start caroling, the girl started singing. Then she saying, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, this is a snake in the sugar pan. Granny, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, you should know these things sweet for soul. Granny, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, long ago, granny, you were so. Granny, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. She says she going online. She going to have a good time. You see, when you're out there, granny does be worried. And you know your granny love you. My one and only do-do. Say don't worry with granny, granny like to quarrel. Then she saying, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, this was a snake in the sugar pan. Granny, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, you should know these things sweet for soul. Granny, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. Granny, long ago, granny, you were so. Granny, woi, woi, granny, ay, ay, ay. You're dressing to go online. Well, don't do like the next time. And when your granny call you, you know what you have to do. And when you're not answering your phone, I just feel like something gone wrong. And I hear you telling people your granny me's a rebel.
My apology. I'm so excited tonight that I had the mic off. But I just wanted to say that of course, people seem to start their juvenescence last night. Into this morning, of course, there were, of course, parties at the stadium, in the Oval, Queen's Park Oval, in the Savannah, and the people were just, of course, having themselves merry. And one wonders whether or not it is as a consequence of the frustration that people have been experiencing, that they have come out, of course, like bachak, as my mother would like to say. But of course, we on the con and elsewhere are saying that Wednesday must come. Among your concerns, your frustrations, your lack of a job, your basic and granular needs, that you are going to be loose, to end up being bruised. Let me repeat, do not be loose, particularly the woman, because at the end of the day, 9 months afterwards, it's you. The man could always, of course, disassociate, or worse yet, disappear. So please, times are already difficult, and to, of course, bring an unplanned newborn into the world is a tremendous challenge. And therefore, you must be very, very meticulous. I cannot, of course, overemphasize the need to be cautious across the board. And of course, we also have lurking, as I said last night, and it cannot be overemphasized, that crime and criminality is there amidst all of the festivities, silent or invisible killer, waiting, of course, for the right conditions. And that is, of course, COVID, even though, of course, a present variation may not be as viral as the previous ones, but the fact of the matter is that it can be debilitating, and depending on your own gusto and your own, of course, resilience, especially, of course, when we're talking about people with comorbidities, you have to be extra careful. I see people, of course, are wearing their masks, and that was good places. So that is a good sign. We want everyone on board come Ash Wednesday. So, of course, I will be, of course, giving some excerpts as to what transpired. I was hoping, of course, to bring something about winners in various competitions across the country tonight, but maybe it's by serendipity, because I would not have known and would not have been able to capture who would have won, of course, the Calypso Crown and other, of course, offerings. We know, of course, that not Despers, I love Despers, so don't vex with me for that. But, of course, we know that Amoco and All Stars tied for first place in the Panorama. But, of course, in such circumstance, you have no second place. So the third place is, of course, our band from Tonopuna, Exodus. And then, of course, we had Desperados, I think, came from a far back because it was, I think, in sixth place. And then, of course, has captured the fourth place. There being no second place because two bands tied for first. Of course, those two bands are Amoco and All Stars. And I know it's going to be a total and absolute flocking or people gravitating, because let's face it, people like success, people like to associate with winners. So in these two bands, I expect that they will be overflowing at least on Juve morning, tomorrow morning. Of course, we just about we at 8:30 o'clock, so we have some time yet. The Dimanche Gras will be taking place, of course, in terms of the performances at the Queen's Park Savannah. A final, of course, major, before, of course, the Merry Monarch takes the streets of Trinidad and Tobago, but more so Trinidad. Welcome once again to the visitors. Welcome to Carnival Land. But, of course, we have to tell you that we have an administration that is dangerous, that is toxic, that has weaponized government against the people. And if you are from, as I would expect, democratic countries and or environment, whether it be North America or Europe, you will appreciate the fact that democracy is government by the people, of the people, and for the people. And in addition to that, one expects that transparency and accountability is a hallmark, that the promotion of free speech, of course, barring, of course, the defamation regulations or rules. But the fact of the matter is that you would see that you can move freely, but I am sure you also would have observed that your respective countries told you and warned that if you go to Trinidad, do not go on Nelson Street, do not go in areas close to the Queen's Park Savannah, except, of course, where things are happening. And for the first time in a long time, I believe it is that during the course of the construction of those booths around the Savannah, a person was murdered right there. You need to know so that you can take the corrective and or preventive actions to make sure that you are not a victim in this Russian roulette environment that we exist. And of course, you must also know that we have record-breaking murders under this administration since, of course, coming into government in 2015. You must also know that internationally, we are the sixth most violent country in the world. Yes, you must know that as well. Because we do not want that piece of information may well be the information that would have saved an attack that may have disastrous consequences. So we have a duty. This is not the skewed position of the present administration. Don't want you to know. And then when you are subjected to it, it becomes public knowledge, and your country expressing, of course, its chagrin and deep concern. No, we right here in Trinidad will protect by telling you what the reality is. Rowley and the Prime Minister and his cabinet will love to, of course, display an illusion, hoping that your worst fears may not materialize. Well, I say we need to tell you what is possible so that our worst fear will not materialize. And so when they get out of office, the succeeding party that will govern Trinidad and Tobago by 2025 will be able to have a fair chance to, of course, address the multiple, the various, and the many fragmented pieces of our society that this administration has either tampered with or have, of course, generated a level of toxicity that no citizen would want to consider to be appropriate. We saw, of course, recently what has happened to Tobago, and many Trinidadians would have gone to Tobago, particularly those of religious teachings who do not participate in Carnival. They will go, of course, to camps in Tobago, and some look forward to that excursion. This time around, it may be well difficult to go on the beach, because the beaches, the pristine beaches, the crystal clear waters, and the white sand is amazing and something, of course, to experience. But you may not be able so to do this time around because of an oil spill consequential of a mysterious boat that toppled over, and of course its dangerous and polluted contents, oil, is now, of course, strewn over the crystal clear water and the white sand of parts of Tobago. So that too may be scuttled. But Dr. Rowley waited, of course, the Prime Minister, he's from there in Tobago, but waited 5 days before he went there and then hold a press conference and expressing, of course, his deep concern, and as usual, ablum, without a sense of empathy. And I say so without fear of contradiction, you know. You sycophants and apologists, you can't erode or erase history. You see, a similar situation like that occurred sometime in the past during, of course, Rowley's administration, early in the administration, when we know now, deliberately interfered with and, of course, rendered dangerous the economy of Tobago in the process as he damaged the sea bridge. The umbilical cord between Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad has evolved, of course, as the mother, if you want to call it that, because it is here, and largely because the island is much larger, and many of the major facilities that would, of course, augment and support our economic survival, it's constructed and resides in Trinidad, including manufacturing and the major oil, gas, and petrochemical installations. Whether you talk about Point Lisas or you talk about Point Fortin, where, of course, one of the largest, well, the largest, of course, in the Caribbean, in terms, of course, LNG plants. But that being as it may, Rowley and his incompetence and malicious intent, not that he wanted, of course, to starve the people of Tobago, but because of his political greed, he sent back the Galicia. And he caused to be sent back because he was touting all over the place that the Galicia was ill-gotten, that the contract was under the UNC, and it appears that anytime something is associated with the UNC, he has a problem. You see, because he sees in others the scam that he is. He sees in others that which is in him. So he's a scamp. He expects others to be scamps. And then all of the allegations and accusations about scampish behavior, about corruption, it simply has turned out to be him spitting in the sky and all falling in his face. And don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, because he went clandestinely and secretively and opened, of course, the velodrome in Couva. He went and opened, of course, or remained silent on the aquatic center. He of course, gives some, what I consider to be not some incongruent and some, of course, deceptive and deflective attempt to suggest that the UNC somehow did something wrong, when, of course, there was a slippage in an access road to the hospital, and that was his big claim to fame. Big claim to fame in terms of that hospital. And proceeded, of course, because the hospital was well furnished, an ultra-modern facility, a designer for medical tourism by the UNC. He started to empty it. Just as how he emptied, of course, the procurement legislation. He eviscerated it. Well, he did that to the hospital. But let's get back, of course, to the sea bridge and the Galicia, because, you see, the oil spill response, as I was saying, is no different to the disaster he created. The disaster he created. Let's go straight to the lines. Let's go straight to the lines before, of course, we continue. Professor, good night, welcome.
He emptied the plot for comment legislation.
Welcome.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
Yeah, Lennox, have a contribution to make.
Go ahead.
He eviscerated it.
You see that COVID thing? I think you should promote that fear, Lennox, because Trinidadians are people, they don't think proper, they don't think like and recovered. And Rowley them could be using that COVID thing as a strategy again to come back to win. If you want to promote it, you put fear in the people and they will tell themselves they go support the PNM for safety and them kind of thing there. Yeah, just like we do in 2020. It's a strategy, you know, with a COVID business. You know. I could be wrong. Eh?
No, well, I was waiting for you to conclude because I want to say off the cuff, I am in total disagreement, because if we do not warn the people, and then it break out in reality, what happens? What you are suggesting will materialize faster.
Lennox.
Yeah. Go ahead.
They say I sugar and thing. And I only them COVID and thing. I go know all about. And in my swearing and thing, I didn't think I live in among without wearing mask and thing. And nothing happened to me. What I feel is fear in the people. From the time you say something, people start to panic. Because what something after this carnival thing and here they say it gone up high. All of them play mask will start to get right. So
yes,
we have to look at that.
Yeah, but how does that give
We have to look at that.
an advantage? I have a difficulty in following your logic. How does that improve Rowley and them position? Because if it is that nobody catches it, it means therefore the people will now be able to go to the polls. They have no excuse to postpone elections. That's the idea. That's all. Yeah, man?
You feel so?
But they have no reason to postpone the election because nobody contracted the disease. The last time they tried to postpone it or did not bring independent observers, they didn't postpone it, but they didn't bring independent observers because of COVID. Because of COVID's presence. So we're trying to tell them, we know your trick. We're trying to do. So there may be, of course, the virus around, and they wouldn't tell anybody. So that the people, of course, end up contracting, and they use the same sinister act to postpone the election or not to bring observers. So I don't want that to happen at all. You understand?
Yeah, well, but after the carnival, they will start to see how the COVID case going up.
Well, right, and you see, but
yeah, look at it in that way too. After the carnival,
yeah, but it will not go up.
They will come up with a plan and say the COVID case rise.
All right, I hear you. Okay, but if you, all right, okay, all right, thank you. That's it. That's your concern.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Yes, indeed. I hear the callers' concern, but to me, the less COVID it has, the less the reason for postponing elections. That's all. The more it have, and if it is around and they are not telling anybody because they want carnival to come and go, and probably to myopically focusing on one thing, whereas of course in the background people catching COVID like hell, then of course I have a duty and responsibility to say, please be cautious, put on your mask, and avoid, of course, large crowds. There's a need to do that, so that you reduce, if not eliminate, the excuse for, of course, postponing or not having international observers. But right now, wet toilet paper, you want to say, right now, wet toilet paper will cut Rowley and his entire cabinet. You want to say? They're so sour that and all will backfire on them. Let me repeat, wet toilet paper, the softest possible paper that we know, will cut Rowley and them first this hour. So they could jump high, they could jump low, but we have a genuine responsibility to tell people that COVID is around, because he can't tell me that that murders and crime and criminality is not wrong. Then I'll say that person now had a visit from the sun. But I don't think that he is, his intention is dishonorable. I think he means well. But my view is that let us tell the people that these two diseases are wrong, murders and crime and criminality, as well as COVID, and take precaution. Because we know that Rowley and they have the ability to manipulate and to exploit that in order, of course, to get an unfair advantage. But let me get back, of course, to Tobago and the question and why Rowley, and evidence that Rowley would normally be so stone-hearted, so obdurate, so stone-headed, if not steel-headed, and take 5 days to go to Tobago, a place that he was born, a place where, of course, his formative years impacted on the character and personality that he has been. And of course, if that was the case, then he's an anomaly in that he's a total rapscallion, a rapist and a pedophile. Let's not waste time with that. I want to tell the whole world and all the visitors that are here looking on. Yes, indeed. But that occurred before, as I said. You see, when he mashed up the sea bridge, in order to employ a total, not just a neophyte. A neophyte, of course, is one who now getting the foot wet in experience. But a total charlatan to fix the passenger vessels. And he had no replacement, of course, for the Galicia. So what he did, he hired thugs. And he hired as well rafts in order to carry goods to Tobago, because the Galicia was supposed to be the vessel that was carrying, of course, all the solid and hardware and other items that you wouldn't expect a passenger vessel to carry. So he did that. You know, I'm saying all that to say, when he went to Tobago, when Tobago started to say, well, listen, we can't get goods, people starving, the grocery shelves are sparse, they have literally nothing on them because of the cause by Rowley to send back the Galicia. Because remember, he cannot say that the Galicia owners take it back. He cannot. Because if he does say that, as in fact he has attempted to do, but it's an asinine argument. Because you see, he put the people on a month-to-month contract. And I say today, because he had intention of frustrating the people, and there is precedent for that too. There's precedent for that. Because he frustrated, of course, OAS as well, for them to leave the country. He's saying that the contract that was entered into by the UNC government was a bad one. The same thing he was saying about the Galicia. But when the repercussions of not getting goods on time and the people of Tobago were on the verge, he goes to Tobago, belatedly, of course. Why his minister, Sinanan, the one responsible for transport, was telling the people Tobago will get what they want. And why Galicia is leaving, he is saying Tobago will get what they want. And he put the people goods on a barge, still exposed to the salt water. And by the time it reached, it rusts. They can't sell it for the price that they would have wanted as far as their markup is concerned. Foodstuff were disappearing on shelves in Tobago. Whilst, of course, the candidate, or should I say the parliamentary representative for Tobago East, the one in the Prime Minister's office, was saying, no, that is not so. Delusionary. and deliberately deceptive and total mendacious, and their prevarications no boundary, as they lie for their political survivability and to give the impression, because they control, they believe the apparatus of state, but they don't control social media though. They may be paying well, TTT and TV6 and CNC3 and others, Guardian, etc. But true patriotism, where I take my own money and my own resources and my own research, and the people who are like-minded like myself join, so that we can have a program every night from 8 o'clock of different and various topics of a national nature, towards, of course, liberating the people, because information and education will set you free. Information and education will set you free. And more you know, it's more you become edified and understand this world, as complex as it is. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yes, Lennox. Good night.
Good night to you.
Yes, hello. You hear me, Lennox?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Okay. I'm calling concerning the vessel that turned over in Tobago.
Yes.
Right. Well, I didn't listen to Rowley today, but the question is, where the vessel come from? It have place next door to we have oil and gas, right? Guyana far away from Trinidad. And this area here, Tobago, have international waters. Trinidad don't have international waters like Tobago. And this thing reach up in Tobago. I smelling contraband. That's too funny. All vessels that have rescue boats. And if they was getting in difficulty, they could have sent out a SOS. When Gypsy's ship was sinking, he started a ball, Mayday, Mayday, not a Mayday, Mayday.
Yes.
I feel they abandon the vessel. They get on the life raft and then there's somewhere in Tobago there. I say so. No survivors. All this thing, when they discover it, Wednesday last week, so and it near a reef, that shallow water. People were working on ship, right? Does they able to swim ashore or something. Something real fishy there.
That's
But
right.
all in all, I see our Coast Guard vessel where is not for thing like that to clean up this thing. A big battleship we have as a Coast Guard vessel doing that kind of work to damage the vessel. We gonna have already. Rowley's a wicked man. And it's damn good for them to be going in, because I telling you, he partner next door, tell him anytime it had disaster with anything, he will send and help him. All he had to do is take up a phone and call the man, and he will send help. He sent help with this boat to do cargo when this next boat catch a fire. Right? Look at big disaster. This thing must be come from next door day. Right? It's contraband they're doing, because the gas here expensive and gas there is nothing. Gas is very cheap there. The citizens of that country just get gas. I promise myself I ain't saying much, but I talked this before and I tell all of that, so I'm repeating myself. So why it wouldn't have contraband? They catch vessel with contraband fuel and it's already in my yarrow. That's why I say it's all kind of thing coming in here with this trade. He say he call it fish trade, all kind of thing. Something funny with that vessel. It's just we cleaning up. If that had happened in their waters, you know that the madman will say we had to pay all the friend he and this madman is, right? That come and damage the reef. That's the island for tourism. That's losses there. right? They had to find out where this vessel come from. It is so, it is so Lennox. He's supposed to be talking that he as a prime minister should send for help. And the first help he could get is from next door. So all this sort of thing going on here with this clean up, that stupidness, that waste of time thing. They're supposed to do the right thing. Find out where that thing boat come from. Good night, Lennox. Enjoy your time.
Thank you very much, and enjoy yours as well. And I want to tell you, go to the top of the class. You have given us an analysis, the best analysis I was going to say, but of course you have equaled it. Was that given by Alan Roberts? I took a listening, and it is similar to my own assessment, because what are the missing variables? What are the missing factors? Nobody. No soul, nobody. Oil, it turned over. And Rowley gave us this evening a further clue as to what may have transpired there. Because they said that they saw a severed cable. So it might have been in difficulty and being towed. So if it is being towed, and the possibility exists that people from the sunk vessel, the turnover vessel, the capsized vessel, could have been rescued by the, of course, boat that was towing. So they go on. So they have a way of getting out of the scene and out of the jurisdiction and out of the waters of Trinidad and Tobago. That is, if that is the scenario. So, but there is another factor as well, as you rightly said. It is easy to find out where the oil came from. A forensic analysis will give you that information to know whether or not it's contraband or some other factor, and piece all of the parts that are not yet clear but amorphous, mysterious, very mysterious, but you can piece it together and at the end of the day come up with a conclusion based on the evidence that is before us. But we wait and see, because there must be other things that they would have found on the boat. And if there was another boat involved, it means therefore there would have been some other things that might have been on the sunken boat that they transferred to the other boat. Told us, as we know, it's not the first time. A boat came from, of course, Africa, West Africa, and of course across the Atlantic, and ended up offshore Tobago as well. And of course, Rowley went on to say that it didn't mean that even if we had all the Coast Guard boats working, the possibility exists that it could have drifted, and it's by accident the Coast Guard boats would have seen that particular boat, or have a bird's eye view as to what would have been happening. But Dr. Rowley, certainly his analytical ability, it seemed to be, of course, waning as well. It seemed to be eroding. It seemed to be he is a victim of cognitive, intellectual, and cerebral decline. Because certainly, Damien boats around the country working with the Coast Guard or for the Coast Guard, and therefore in our interests, the likelihood that that would have been noticed is greater. You can't tell me there are one boat and you're giving it the same possibility as 12 boats. You had to be a madman. Rowley, you had to go mad, boy. You have one boat working. And you are saying that even with 12 boats, the possibility exists that you may not have seen, the Coast Guard may not have seen that boat. before you tell us that if you had 12 boats, the dozen boats working, the likelihood that you would have seen the boat would have been possible. But because there was no such asset to guard our shores, that is why you couldn't see any damn thing. Rowley is a wicked man. And if you believe semantics and your verbal acrobatics will save you on this occasion, no. You had to be a backside to reverse and equate 12 boats to one boat. Yes, indeed. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yeah, pleasant good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you as well, my friend.
I want to say good night to everybody live, everybody in the chat, everybody regional and internationally. So, Mr. Lennox, this is just my opinion, right?
Yes.
So that boat would... Yeah, you hear me, Mr. Lennox?
Yeah, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Loud and
Hello?
clear. Go ahead. Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Lennox, this is my opinion, and I want to be careful what I'm going to say. So, when they have an oil spill, right? After they clean up the oil spill, how much months does it take before the island will be functional to tourism to kick back up? About 6 months?
Well,
5, 6 months?
That depends, frankly, on the amount of spill that had to be cleaned up, you know, because you have boom and all of that, and you know, so it's a. But what you know is more time than one would, of course, prefer not to have.
Exactly, and what Tobago depends on for revenue coming in the country.
Tourism.
All right, so. And next year's election. So I don't know. This is just speculating, but you know, conspiracy theory. And for this carnival too, Mr. Nance, I want to put this to rest of everybody who's thinking COVID and all that. In 2015, for the general election, had close to 55% people voted. And for 2020, for the heart of the pandemic, almost 70% of the people came out to vote. So don't worry about this carnival and COVID. People will vote. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's my view as well. But I just want to make sure that you minimize the excuse that this administration will have, because any port for a storm with them, because they know that the backside is quaking, and that they will come up with all kind of hairy-fairy stories you wouldn't believe, having regard to what we know of them.
True, Mr. Nam, with this government, anything is possible. So that's my opinion. I feel there's some foul play take place to make back Tobago become dependent on an ex-party. It's a serious thing, because let me tell you something. Every boat that leave a port that contains oil must be registered, have to be fueled, and it must. Because it's not no one or two people that see about that. It's an international standard. There's a bureau that sees about this. You can't leave a port, be it wherever port you're leaving, without having a signature. While going on the ocean, there's different sections, like America, different countries have the border that they look at this boat. If your paperwork not in order, you can't pass.
Yeah.
So there's something real fishy going on here, Mr. Lennox. So I'll look on and listen.
Yes, indeed. Well, of course, Dr. Rowley did talk about the one before came from Tunisia. That's, of course, on the west coast, the northwest, or the northwest coast of Africa, and it came down here. So he was making that analysis, and I suspect he was trying to, of course, utilize his geographic knowledge and prowess, and I thought it was a kind of overkill, and I was wondering whether or not he knew something that the rest of us don't know. But then he told us about the cable. Let's go straight to let's go straight to that call. President, good night. Welcome.
Good night, Mr. Lennox. Happy Carnival to you.
Same to you, my dear.
Miss Valson here, and I commend you the work that you're doing in Laventry there for the young people. If it's anything I can contribute, you just let me know. I'll be
Okay.
happy to assist in whatever little way.
And we really appreciate that. We really appreciate that. I want to tell you only today.
On my
Today, I got delivered a microwave and almost
uh-huh,
a half warehouse of chairs, a table,
uh-huh.
and some other cabinets and so on. And I was
Yeah.
ecstatic. I was ecstatic. I said, "Wow."
I could imagine the emotion, but you're
Yes.
going to reach the God is good.
Yes.
And we asking all the good citizens come out and support you.
Yes.
Right.
Indeed,
So what I
Kanamakana.
call in tonight to talk about,
Go ahead.
that boat was sink. That boat was sink. That boat is sink just so you know. That is a setup. Right? You can't find nobody in the boat. You send divers, you send anybody. Rowley testing Tobago waters with the citizens and them they we see lost election there. So he trying something. That is what he's trying to do.
Yeah, you can't put it,
Because
you can't put nothing past him. 5 days he wait to go there.
I have cousin in Cedar. They see that boat was going up the road and people was pushing with a barge or how they calling it. You hear? He damn well know where the boat come from. Right? So he wanted to test Tobago people to see what they could do with the oil and something, and call on him to see, well, you have to help me and something, and then they go vote for him. The Tobago people put all their head on. All they had noticed like Trinidad people. We put him 2 times in office, and look what he do. You hear? So, Mr. Lennox, you have my number. Tell you, keep calling me. If anything I
Yes,
could
I will
contribute to
have
what
my
you're doing there,
assistant call you
it is a good
tomorrow for
good
sure.
service to human race and to the young people. And the
Yes.
young people, I want to tell you something in Laventry. Listen to Mr. Lennox, or they will reach somewhere in life and better in life. If you listen to the PNM, or they are going away. Okay? Thank you. Have a good night and have a safe journey home and a safe carnival.
Yes, indeed. Of course. And I think that is good, should I say, admonition, is good advice. You see, because I keep saying that experience is the best teacher. And they must know that the PNM has dominated Laventil and Sealats and Beetham and Chumakak and of course Mova, Malik, Diego Martin and so on for a very long time. And then therefore their experience is one that of dissatisfaction. And then their chagrin or their amazement is the fact that they have been able, of course, to manage billions of dollars, but their major constituencies along the east-west corridor remain wanting and remain desolate and remain, of course, in abject, not just poverty, but abject need of attention. And attention here is not to say verbally that you love or you do. It means if you have the national purse at your disposal, then the $100 million that you now say at the twilight of your second term, at the ending of at the terminus of your second term, you suddenly can find 100 million. How you could find 100 at the beginning? And every year for the past 9 years, so that the circumstances of the country would not have been what it is today. Of course, but with the PNM, you could give them $1 trillion. Since they are part of the problem, it would have been impossible with all the money in the world, with all the largesse, they couldn't solve one thing. So let's not waste time. You young people, what you need to do, 18 years, go and register to vote. And the country called Trinidad and Tobago that you would have saved by voting out at the PNM and bring in, of course, a organization while in government and a leader that is still around, Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the UNC, between 2010 and 2015, you know that your future is assured and that your optimism and hope and prospects for a better and brighter future where competition, creativity, people-centeredness, and no doubt the quality of life and standard of living that all of us aspire will be realized over time. It's not going to happen overnight, so I'm not selling you any dream. What I'm doing in George Street and Nelson Street and so on, it's not because of Rowley and they, but because of my own patriotic zeal, one, two, the decadence and trauma of those young people. That's 3, 4. That Rowley and they, with all the money they have, including the 100 million, the life of these young people will not be improved, and that they will continue, of course, to be mired and, of course, subjected to the option of crime and criminality, borderline, as well as gang warfare. And so the time has come for a person who understands, who is better than Rowley and his entire cabinet by far. Let them come and debate. Let them come and debate what they have done. Bloody set of cowards, and of course, miscreants, and of course, incompetent, and of course, myopic to the core. They're blind, not just short-sighted, they're blind. And they have the audacity to stand up and talk about 100 million and you will see things unfolded. How come it didn't unfold since 2015? How come what you are saying now is what you said then? You said that you have it under control, and that you have a manifesto that says you have a 10-point plan, and that of course a commissioner of police, and then of course you come and tell us that of course is the churches that needs to get involved, and then you tell us is the police that have the responsibility, and then you tell us of course it is a public health. A public health madness. And you bring, of course, a set of people here when that money could have been spent, of course, on these very young people so as to get inside of those communities and deal with the matter. And, of course, understand that there are elements within that are positive, and that therefore the retired teacher, the retired, of course, principal, the retired policeman, the retired fireman, and we can go on and there, use them in order, of course, to transform and to, of course, build capacity so that our young people can, of course, contribute. Oh, let me just get it from here. Let me just get this one from here. I'll get this one from here. Yes, indeed. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Mr. Lennox Smith, good night.
Good night to you.
How are you going?
Well, of course, as good could be in this circumstance, I certainly hoping that Juve come and go quick, and the entire carnival as well.
How the car working before I make my contribution?
Oh, yes. Wonderful.
Good. That make me happy.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to talk about that right now because to be good, if they feel like foul play went on there, they will hate them over here. So they're going to improve up harmony chances here. Right? I want to talk about the Galicia, Lennox.
Go ahead.
The man that started the Galicia talk was Sinaran. You remember that?
Yes.
He's in that in the parliament or like racket going on there.
Yeah. He say it has so much vibration that window pane from the higher just fall out.
Yeah, imagine
That might a backside and a half, you know.
Well, a 3/4.
All right, I hear you. I agree.
I want to be the next man who pick it up is short.
Yes.
I mean, the Galicia was coming back from Tobago. You said they go see the vote. I think I tell you that already.
Yeah. But that was gun talk. That was gun talk.
Yeah, gun talk.
Yeah, gun talk. They hollow and obfuscatory and trying to project that they what they are not. What they are not. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
The Galicia come off road. I went it way.
I went it way. That's right. Contract they want.
Don't touch that, you know. He tell him don't touch that boat, you know.
Yes.
And the boat went it way.
That's right. You
When
didn't
they
do what
came
you're
in, look
supposed to
on
do
George,
for the people of Tobago.
Yeah, make a for some of them, you know. I don't think the man don't have enough change for them, you know.
Well, I'm hoping that, especially for Rowley, that the jail cell is there must be an asylum department. Yeah. And let him spend the rest of his life there as a prisoner and in a prison for the mentally insane.
But then you can put him like the boat man at Alcatraz.
Wherever, but just away from people.
Yes, boy. They were laying the foundation to go and buy boat all over the world.
That's right. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, government in Australia don't get that crap.
Yes.
And we take all that way, Lennox.
Yes. That's why they say Trinidad is not a real place.
I want all the other people who are supposed to talk out about that. I will tell you straight, Lennox.
Go ahead.
Tell me I have no chance in Tobago. You know that, I know that.
Of course.
And, well, I get to find out you the best sports in the country. Because before that Tobago election, we talked the night before, right?
Yes, that's right.
And you tell me party going all.
That's right. All the damn seats.
All these, even though Rowley change it up, you get wood.
Yeah, wood, yes. Yeah, in his favor. Yeah.
Happy shall go for tongue. So I know what they're going to do this time. But who fearful of them with COVID? The long time going through why? They're going through a blind man could see that.
Yeah.
They have no chance over here or over there. You can see in the ascendancy right now, and no matter what, they're going to run away the election. No COVID can't stop the election here, no.
That's right. I'm being very reserved. Because of the shenanigans, I know that they're capable of manufacturing, but don't matter what they do, as you rightly said, don't matter what they do. Yeah.
And people get it, and they come after Carnival and say they're postponed.
Yes, that's what they're hoping, yeah.
That you know something as dangerous as that around you, want to tell nobody.
Yeah.
You just want to have a good time and then come back and vote for you. Them days done by the dogs.
Yeah, the people are wiser. The people are very wise. Very wise. Their eyes are open wide. Yeah.
Let me keep your back. Get them in the backside.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my friend. Yes, we'll talk. Yes. Yes, indeed. So let me conclude as to where a similar scenario, like waiting for the 5 days to go to Tobago to talk about the oil spill, pretending to be in the interests of Tobago, is déjà vu. Déjà vu, really. You see, after he damaged the sea bridge, and he, of course, by his policies and programs, almost starved Tobago, he then went there and he told them, he said, listen, that difficulty of the sea bridge you experience may be a disaster for you, a national tragedy, No, a tragedy for you, but it does not meet the standard of a national tragedy. Now just imagine that. The people of Tobago starving. They can't get the goods. You cause the Galicia to go back. The passenger vessels breaking down. You send back, as far as the passenger vessels are concerned, you send back the company that Kamala and they hired, Grand Bay. Grand Bay. No, not Grand Bay. Grand Bay is the company that EBC hired to, of course, recycle all of the ballot paper and so just after the 2020 elections. You know, they have similar names, so you'll forgive me, but I thought I should make that introduction. And the company that they sent back was Bay Ferries. Bay Ferries from Canada. Yeah. Send it back too. So they let the Galicia go. They let the maintainers of the boats go, and Rowley has the audacity, the temerity, the gall, the effrontery, the boldfaces, and the conmanship to tell us when he get in, the boats and them were on their last legs, so to speak. That nefarious, but now very famous nincompoop rapscallion. Nincompoop rapscallion. How you gonna tell we now that it was on his last legs? You send back. And he's so blasted stupid with wickedness. You know, he come in our faces and tell us that Bay Ferries went back with all of the data, all of the technical information to maintain the vote. Those 2 ferries that were breaking down every minute. He tell us that. And Bay Ferries had to, from Canada, say, but Rowley, you lie. Just as how the people in the local government election in St. James tell Rowley, you just lie. The only difference here is they might have done it from that distance, but the people and them tell him as it is inside of the meeting itself. He gets stupid one time. He said he couldn't talk. He couldn't believe that his own were telling him that he's a blasted liar, as everybody, not only in Trinidad, the region, and in the world, and in the hemisphere knows that he's a blasted, mendacious individual. In fact, he suffers from a rare disease. A rare disease that causes him to spontaneously lie. Spontaneously. The man does lie for nothing. And believes his lies. It's clear. Why else would he continue with that kind of nonsense? So Bay Ferries, he pulled an allegation on them when he realized that those persons that he caused the chairman at the time, the PNM chairman of the port at the time, who clearly on Rowley and them instructions hired some friends that they know to maintain those boats, and they failed miserably. So he started to say now that the boat and them were on the last legs when he got them. He's so blasted stupid. And as one US president said, when you speak the truth, there is no need to remember. You know what I say? When you speak the truth, there's no need to remember, because you will always have it there, because it is truth. It's only when you lie, you just forget. Only when you lie, you just forget. So, in an interview nearing the 2020 elections at the Whitehall, he was interviewed by a journalist, one-on-one. Just as how we were able to play, of course, the Julian Rogers tape when he said that he was, of course, a NJAC and therefore logically opposed to the PNM and Rowley. And Rowley was also opposed to Eric Williams. How come he become head of the PNM? I don't know, but he's a free-for-all. And an opportunist like him will smell that and take it, as we show with criminals how they operate. But he said in that particular interview, when they asked him, well, Tobagonians are saying that they have one Ari boy in the office of Prime Minister and they're suffering, the Sea Bridge notwithstanding. You know what Rowley turned and said? Rowley turned and said, when he was asked what you regret the most, he said he regret sending back Bay Ferries. You know what I say? I don't get me vex you sycophants before I play it, you know. He said that he regretted sending back Bay Ferries. How does that equate with his previous statements when he realized that people were questioning his competency and his inability to logically implement policies and programs to the final end, or the end product is improvement of the country and therefore Trinidad and Tobago citizens. He turned and said, people, he regret that he sent back Bay Ferries, the company that was maintaining those vessels. Well, how come? And therefore, he was now saying that he lied when he said that he met those vessels on the last days or the last leg. That buffoon, that nincompoop, that asinine specimen of inhumanity, and that speck of protoplasm, the living stuff, or should I say the stuff that living things are made of, protoplasm. That's what he is. But let me get back, of course, to what he told Tobagonians on the question of the Sea Bridge. He told them that at your level, it may be a crisis, but at the national level, it is not a crisis. Just imagine that. You come and destroy my home. And because other people's home were not destroyed, you telling me that it is not a crisis for me, so I must accept no roof under my head, all my worldly possession destroyed, and you could simply say that is a crisis for you, but it's not a national crisis. The Sea Bridge I'm talking about, he talking to Tobagonians, he Rowley talking to Tobagonians. And if he figured that is honky-dory and all right, and they will accept. Something like Heinz, when he went in, of course, to beat him, when, of course, the people suffering because they are flooded out, all the food and their worldly possession, and you come with your bare hands because I am Heinz. Well, he had to hightail out of Beetham under some heavy, dirty water. Hightail out. Well, in the case of Rowley, they didn't send him out immediately. No. They waited and waited. And then they jettison him. They make him walk the plank. In the last THA elections, they make him walk the plank. And since then, he can't recover. So he goes there now and making more mistakes. More mistakes. You see, when a dog sucking egg, it is difficult for it to relinquish that habit. That is Rowley. He sees it as nothing. And his statement, he, Heinz, and all of them, you see them, they're very analytical. After the fact, post facto, in other words, they will tell you all what went wrong. And somehow, in a fit of madness that seemed to be endemic in the PNM, your job is to solve the problem. You coming and telling us what the problem is. Full stop. Full stop. You see it all over the place. And it's very philosophical as well. That the police has this, and the police will be provided with that, and of course, and they create, of course, the atmosphere for some kind of photo up so that they could bamboozle the people. So the latest one with Hines and they went, of course, to Vemcott and hand over some vehicles to the army and the police, and he feels that would have absolved him and his government from the stupidity that we witnessed recently of him both. And of course, the Commissioner, Ulla Christopher, and that would neutralize and wipe away and wash away those cardinal sins that they have committed against the people. That waste time. That waste time.
And his
President, good night. Welcome.
Yeah, Lennox.
Yes.
Yeah, people must understand Rowley is an enemy in an enemy camp. And them PNM people don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Eh?
Yes, they sure don't. But
yeah, he's an enemy in an enemy camp. Eh?
But he will, there's a shelf life for that. That is only temporary. That can't continue indefinitely. He must succumb to the will of the people ultimately. Yeah. That's it. That's it, my friend. All right, okay then. Yes, indeed. Must succumb. You see, evil cannot prevail over good. Otherwise, the Bible is a lie, the Gita is a lie, and the Quran is a lie, and any other good book that has some inspirational, some divine inspirational origin. Yes, indeed. Can't. So I'm not concerned. So I expect that, let me say one time, 28, 27 to 28 seats. And it could be more for the UNC. And of course, any combination that they would be working with in the 2025 maximum elections. That's not waste time. But of course, the question to the visitors in particular, I want to tell you that crime and criminality, as I said, lurking around the corner. And this is how our Prime Minister and the government, apart from the 100 million that you hear talking, that should have been instituted, even though, of course, they are totally cursed, blight, and are initiators of the crime and criminality